Hi, this is Shonnie Lavender, the Conscious Moms Coach, and today I'm talking to you about tantrums, those times when our children lose control. They're crying, they're screaming, they're hitting, they're kicking, whatever their manifestations that happen during those big emotional releases. That's what I'm going to be talking about. But specifically, I want to talk about a reframe that I want to give you, because tantrums, and that's why I keep putting it in air quotes because I don't like that word, because it brings almost all of us back to a certain idea of what's going on. And it's a behavior-based idea that doesn't serve us and doesn't serve our children. So I want to give you a reframe for tantrums or meltdowns so that when they happen in your life, that you can put a different frame around it, which will make it easy for you to approach it in a different way. And then secondly, what I want to do is I want to tell you some steps you can do. Specifically, though, those steps are for you to play the pivotal role that your children need you to play when that's the state they're in, because they absolutely need us. They really do need the kind, loving support of an adult caregiver in those moments. And so I'm going to tell you why and what are some of the things you can do and some things not to do. So that's what I'm going to be talking about, and I'll periodically check in on Facebook. I'm actually doing this via Zoom, so I don't see comments there right now, but feel free to comment or question, and feel free to invite your friends. And if you're watching this later on via my YouTube channel, same thing. Feel free to comment or post questions, and I will do my best to respond. At YouTube, I'll be responding to you after the fact, but at Facebook, I try and respond in the moment while I'm live, and if not, I'll respond later on. So that's the logistics, so let me get into it. So the number one thing, this is the reframe that I want to give you, is that tantrums or meltdowns, again, as two common words that we tend to use for when our kids are in that big emotional outburst, is those things, whatever words you're going to use for them at the moment, they are basically an outward example of the downstairs brain being in control. So let me just put a little more context in there. So briefly, because I want this video to stay pretty short, we have in general an upstairs brain and a downstairs brain, and lots of different parts, and they work together, and when they work well, they work together. And what each part has some key roles. And what happens though is the upstairs brain in general, you want to think of the upstairs brain, it's our cortex, it's the human part of our brain, which I often talk about as well. That is the part we associate with being human. It is our rational thinking, our problem solving. A lot of our creativity is there, our empathy, our ability to self-control, self-regulate. So those things reside in our upstairs brain. The downstairs brain, which is comprised of the emotional or the limbic brain and the reptile brain, that is more our emotional brain. So that downstairs brain, think of it as an emotional brain. The upstairs brain you can think of as the thinking brain. So the downstairs brain is in control in those moments when our children are having, I call them big emotional releases. So that's the wording I use for them. So when our children are having a tantrum or a big emotional release, basically what you're seeing is their downstairs brain is in charge. Now, a couple things to remember is the upstairs brain in children is the weakest part of their brain. That's because our brain develops from the bottom up. So our brainstem and the parts that make up our reptile brain, those are the parts that regulate our heartbeat, our breathing, our internal organs and processes. That develops first in utero. So that's the first thing. That's what we share with our other animal relatives on the planet. The next part of the brain as we go up is the limbic brain. So that's that mammal brain. So we don't share that with lizards, but we do share it with chimpanzees and dogs and mammals. So that's the part of the brain that's more about that connection. That's more about, it's still related to the safety and the keeping us alive, but it's more of that connecting brain, that feeling brain. And then not until we're in our mid-20s is our upstairs brain or our human brain or that prefrontal cortex, that doesn't fully develop until our mid-20s. So if you have a child under the age of 25, their upstairs brain is still in construction. So this is the part of the brain that's the weakest already in children. And what happens, if you know the work of interpersonal neurobiology, work of Dan Siegel and others, what happens under stress is that prefrontal cortex goes offline. And so that's what you're seeing in a tantrum is your children are operating from this lower part of their brain, the limbic and the reptile brain. So that's a lot of science, and you may say, oh, it doesn't matter. And yet it's really crucial. It's like that's the best they can do at that moment because they've lost this upper part of their brain in terms of functionality. So that's the first thing I want you to know. That's what's going on. You're simply seeing this outward manifestation of downstairs brain in control. The second thing I want you to know about tantrums is that while they happen and they seem like they're in response to something that's happened, so you've set a limit, or somebody's taken the toy from your child, or they don't want to go to school, or they don't want to go to bed, whatever the thing is, yes, that's often when the tantrum happens. That doesn't mean that that thing is the cause of the tantrum. Now, sometimes it can be the issue. It can be what's up for the child. The other thing, though, that happens, and you might have heard of this referred to as broken cookie syndrome or broken cookie response, it's that idea that our children, let's take their day, if they're a school child, they've been in school all day, their brain is working so hard to manage their social interactions, keep their behavior within expectations of the school, actually learn their academics, all these sorts of things, manage other things, manage even the growth and development that's going on inside their body. So all day it's like they're cramming for an exam almost. So like their brain's working hard. And then you pick them up after school and they want to go get ice cream and you say, sorry, no ice cream. And they're like, and they're screaming and they're throwing things. And you're thinking, oh, it's because I said no ice cream. Sort of. But it's also simply, this was the thing that just made it too much for their upstairs brain. Their upstairs brain might have been holding on, by like one little piece of gray matter, right? And so they're like this, and so no ice cream. So it seems like, oh, this was the thing that they're having a problem with, and there may be some truth there. And yet, more often, what I see is simply that was the event that precipitated them going into that emotional brain state or that downstairs brain state. So the third thing I want you to remember about tantrums is that, and this is the reframe basically in a nutshell, is that instead of thinking of the tantrum as undesirable behavior, which is why I don't like that language of tantrum, because it's basically putting us in that state of saying this bad thing that they're doing, when it's not a bad thing they're doing. They are showing us where they are at in their brain state. So it's not a conscious choice. It's not a kid who says, I'm going to throw a fit. That's what old parenting ideas said. Oh, they're pitching a fit. BS. That's not what they're doing. That's old. It's not true. If somebody tells you that, they just are uninformed. So it's not pitching a fit. It is literally something they don't have control of because they've lost that upstairs part of their brain, that thinking brain that keeps them regulated and in self-control. So basically, I want you to practice for yourself thinking of it simply as, when you see that behavior, this is a signal to me that my child is in a brain state that they actually are signaling to me, I need your help in getting me back into my thinking brain. I need your help getting me back to that upstairs brain. Okay, so that's what it is. Think of it as a white flag, whatever you want to think of it. It is not bad behavior. It is signal that says, I'm in this lower brain state and I need help to get out of it. Okay, so that's the number one thing I want you to remember. Take that reframe and put it on your child, put a frame around them when you see them in this behavior and go, oh yeah, it's not consciously chosen. It's simply evidence of they need my help. Okay, so if you can walk away with nothing else from this video, if you have to go right now, don't, but if you do, go and take that away and then come back and watch the rest of the video. So now I want to talk about, so what do you do? Okay, so Shonnie, I believe you. This is my kid saying in an unconscious way, help, I need some help. So what do? That's what I'm going to tell you now. So the main thing that I want you to remember in this part is that because our children's brain is in development, they need us. Let me back up for a second. So internally, they have the systems. Remember, I talked about the brain develops from the bottom up. So from very, very early on in utero, they have the wiring and the connections in their brain to detect threat and to know discomfort. And I say to know, to be aware of discomfort. And they are given, we as humans are given the ability to communicate that we are in this state and to protect ourselves. So this is where the fight, flight, freeze response happen. We don't have to think about it. We don't have to say, when I feel really, under threat, I should tell my brain to put blood to all my extremities so I can run. I should tell my brain to take the blood away from my stomach because I don't need to digest anything. If we had to do that, our ancestors would have died out a long time ago, right? So these are lightning fast reactions, chemical reactions that happen in our bodies. And so what's going on is that part of our brain is wired to go from the get-go. That's why babies cry when they feel discomfort, whether it's poopy diaper or wet diaper or hunger or something scratching them or hurting them. They can feel their own discomfort and they can communicate it to us. What they can't do as babies and even as 7-year-olds and 10-year-olds as well is they can't always fix it all by themselves. And especially in terms of that settling the brain and the nervous system, turning off that fight, flight, freeze response. They can't do that on their own. They need us to be their external brain, their external brakes. So their system's alarmed, right? That's what's going on when they're down in the downstairs brain. So their system is alarmed. Now, it might not be totally in that fight, flight, freeze mode, but they still have stress hormones going through their body. And so their body has the alarm system going off. That's what you want to think of. It's like, meow, 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 that annoying noise that we don't like, right? So that's what's going on in their body. They don't yet have the abilities wired in to help them settle on their own, to re-regulate themselves, to stop that fight, flight, freeze response. So our job is to do the things externally that signal to them, and it's going to be signaling it through their senses, right? So they're going to see, they're going to hear, might smell something, they might taste something, they're going to feel physically. They are going to use their senses to take in data from us that their brain will read and say, oh, all clear, no emergency, there's no fire here, well, no big deal, false alarm. So they need us to do that for them. They need us to say, it isn't, there's nothing, you're not going to die, it's okay. Brain, stand down. So that's our role. That's our pivotal role, is we are those external brakes that help their brain understand that, uh-oh, I had a false alarm. It's okay. I can come back to more calmness. And under that calm state, my human brain, my upstairs brain will come back online. Okay, so that's our pivotal role. So let me tell you some specifics of what you can do, what you want to avoid doing. So you want to minimize talking. I'm terrible at this. If you can't tell, I'm terrible at this, so I have to practice this one a lot. You want to minimize your talking. You want to minimize movement, noise, other activity that's going on, if you can. Sometimes you can't, so do what you can. And part of that is, again, think about this brain where we're down here. We don't have that rational thinking, that logic that says, oh, it's probably not a big deal. Part of our brain is already going, mirror, 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 alarm, alarm, danger, danger. And so now if you have all this stuff going on around you, and your brain is already like, danger, danger, danger. Now you're like, oh, what was that? What was that? What was that sound? Oh, too much talking. The lower parts of our brain, they don't understand language. You could be speaking Chinese to your child, or if you speak Chinese, you could be speaking English to them. You know, it would be like, it's not going to matter. So that's why you want to minimize that talking, minimize the other things that the brain is going to more easily interpret as more threat, more of something to protect against, okay? Because you're trying to settle that part of the brain, not stir it up more. The second thing you want to do, and this is really, I probably should have put this first, but I didn't. Anyway, you want to get calm and stay calm yourself, because again, you are the external brain. So if you're over here going, that sends a signal to your child that they are not safe. So they are not going to settle down. I had a great example of this. I talked about this with one of my Thriving Family Summit guests, Dr. Greer Kirschenbaum, who's the neuroscientist doula. And I told her about coming across a mother deer and a fawn one day on a run. And that what I noticed, because I got to see them, gratefully, I got to see them sort of as I was nearby, but they were in a little bit off the trail where I was, is that the fawn was really alert. You know, ears were up, totally alert, was, you know, looking at me. And so that fawn was in more a heightened alert state, because it was like, oh, what's this new thing? I've never seen this before. I hear this noise. I smell the smell, you know, that's unfamiliar to me. And that to the brain, unfamiliar is danger. So the mama, the doe, she, by her behavior, she signaled to her doe or her fawn. I should probably not use the correct names and call them a mama and baby. But anyway, the mama deer signaled to her baby that, hey, it's okay. There's not danger. And so by watching her mother experiencing her state of being, the fawn was then able to say, oh, okay, the signal I get from mom is it's cool. I could just relax. So that fawn could relax. And so she did. She turned her attention away from me. She went back to eating, head down, you know, and went on with her business. And it was fascinating to me. So that's the thing you want to do for your child. You want to project a sense of, it's cool here. Nobody's dying. There's no huge loss of blood. It's all okay. And you do that, again, I tend to want to talk, so I get to practice like, shut up, Shonnie. Bzz. So you do that with your physical presence, but you do it by being calm in yourself, taking deep breaths, saying a mantra to yourself like, we're going to make it through this. It's okay. It's big feelings. I can do this. Whatever you feel called to say in your mind that helps you be at a place of calm composure, that's what you want to do, because that's going to help your child more than anything else, because they feed off of your energy. So the third thing you want to do is to really seek to create safety and then soothe your child. So again, you're seeking to act like the external brakes, and you're not trying to slam them on. You know, it's not like, let's come to a stop, because that's not going to feel gentle to your child, and that's going to, again, agitate their system further. You're trying to slowly apply those brakes and like, we're back. You know, it's okay. We're calming down slowly. And so whatever fits for you. I know I learn over time with my daughter and things change. So for her, for example, one of the things that usually works with her is giving her 15 to 30 seconds of loud hitting. Even now I move out of the way. She can't hit me. She can't hit somebody else, but she might, you know, lash out. She might, and she'll be 8 tomorrow. So, you know, so she may do those things. And what I found is if I can, you know, let that be for 15 to 30 seconds of her, you know, really expressing. Then if I come in with a little bit of talk, usually I'll say something like, can I hold you? And I'm quiet like that. Then after it's like, and it's a soft voice. It's like, can I hold you? Sometimes I'll come over, like if we're nearby each other, but I'm not physically right next to her when she gets upset. Then what I'll do is I'll come over to her. I'll give her 10 or 15 seconds of, And then I'll come over and I'll gently put my hand on her back, and I won't say anything. And I'll just put my hand, back here. Sometimes I'll just give her a kiss on the top of her head. So play with it in your family. See what works for your child. How can you help them have that sense of, oh, I'm safe and I'm getting the soothing I need, okay? The final tip, the fourth tip, or the 27th, which is depending on how you've been counting, is you want to speak the language. And I say speak because it's not necessarily verbal. You want to use the language of the downstairs brain. So again, the upstairs brain, the prefrontal cortex, that's our talking, that's our language, that's our rational, problem-solving, creativity, right? The downstairs brain, physical touch, proximity, eye contact, skin contact, rhythmic motion. So you can do things, and again, think non-threatening. So physical proximity, yeah, get near your child, but don't be towering over them. Be down at their level, be below their eye level to even communicate more that you're not a threat. But be physically close to them. Okay? You're not alone, baby. I'm right here. So you want to do that. Be close to them. Eye contact, again, be mindful. It's like something that can be threatening, but if you can, again, below their eye level, giving them some of that time and being mindful of how, you don't want to, it's not a stare down. Let me look at you. It's that, oh, I'm here. And you can see sort of like one of my eyebrows is going down. It's like, yeah. It's that body posture. It's that prosody. It's your voice quality. It's not necessarily the words you say. You might even just, make some noises. Baby. Whatever feels natural to you. You can use some gentle touch. Works really well with my daughter, may or may not work with your child. You can even do some rhythmic motions. So sometimes, that might be, I'm sort of rocking now, but maybe you're just gently rubbing up and down real slowly on the back. Up and down. Maybe you're rubbing on top of their thigh, on top of their leg, just gentle, back, just here. Not saying anything, just because go back to time. If you don't have an infant now, go back to the time. What did you do? What do you do naturally when they're crying, when they're upset? You rock them. You wear them on your body, you carry them around and they're getting that gentle motion. You dance with them. So we do this naturally. What soothes them in utero? Mama heartbeat. That's the thing. So we go back to those rhythms as well. So that's the language of that downstairs brain. That's the language that speaks to it that says it's safe. Because think about if you're in a fight, flight, or flight reaction, what's going to be happening? Heart's going to be racing. Your breathing's going to be up. It might even be erratic. Not usually, but it could be erratic. If you're huffing and puffing. But that's that signal of like, ooh, we gotta be ready to fight and ready to protect ourselves. When you're relaxed, you don't have that going on. So your breathing is more rhythmic, slower, heartbeat is slower. So that's what you want to do. You want to slow down and speak that language of the downstairs brain. So quick recap, and then I'm going to pop over to Facebook and check and see if there are any questions that I can handle while I'm here live. Number one thing I want you to practice with is reframe tantrums and meltdowns. They are not a consciously chosen behavior. They don't need to be fixed. I didn't say that earlier, but they don't need to be fixed. They are simply a sign that your child is in an emotional brain state, a downstairs brain state. They've simply lost that upstairs brain, that rational thinking, that self-control that's already pretty tenuous in young children, but they've lost that. That's all it is. So it doesn't need to be fixed. They need your help in settling down their nervous system, their brain, so that they can come back into their human self. It's going to happen. You don't need to plunk their human brain back in there. It's already there and it'll come back online, but they need your help. And so without going into the detail, I gave you specific things that you can do to communicate to this part of their brain that's freaking out and help it know that it's okay. It can let its defenses down. Nothing has to be fought against. Nothing has to be run from. It's okay. And mom or dad or grandma, whoever the loving adult caregiver is here to help you come back to that state. And they're going to come back, but they just need a little bit of shepherding and support from us. So that's what I have to say today. I welcome your comments and questions. It's really, really common. And again, know that part of our negative reaction as adults comes from our own upbringing and a lot of the cultural conditioning that still views this as, oh, what's up with that kid over there screaming and pitching a fit and having a fit and making their parents jump all over that bratty kid. That's all social conditioning. It's not true. It's not based on any scientific fact. It's based on old ideas that didn't work back then. They don't work now. And so just know that, yeah, when you have your own upset around tantrums and meltdowns, that's all it is. It's just old stuff. So you can choose to come from a new place and say, you know what? This is just my kid signaling me that he or she needs some support to get back to their human brain, and I can help them do that. Okay? So my name is Shonnie Lavender. I'm the Conscious Moms Coach. And if you want to talk to me more about this, feel free to do so. Follow me again on Facebook, on my YouTube channel, on Instagram. And I've got also some great programs and things. So if you want to have some more support in how to handle this rather than just watching a Facebook Live video, feel free to reach out to me and I'll be glad to talk to you about what kinds of support and programs I have. All right. Thanks so much, everybody. I am going to pop over to Facebook. So if you're there, hold on and I'll be there. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.